Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Athena is a movie out now on Netflix. This is a movie that came out this year, 2022, directed by Romain Gavras. This is a French film. This is a movie about police brutality. This is a film that has a lot of long shots, which I am a huge fan of. A lot of smooth, slick camera movements. This is a movie that is, because of those camera movements, really brings you in to this chaos that's happening in this movie. Basically, it's a movie about, let me read the description. Hours after the tragic death of their youngest brother, in unexplained circumstances, 3 siblings have their lives thrown into chaos. Athena is basically an apartment complex in France where there are riots going down, mainly because this child was gunned down by a police officer, and this was the 3rd instance of police brutality in the last 2 months of the reality of this film. Something that really is relatable if you live in the United States. Of course, Black Lives Matter was a huge protest during the pandemic after the murder of George Floyd by a police officer, while multiple police officers just stood around and watched a cop murder an innocent man. And it's something that happens pretty daily in the United States, where unarmed men, women, and children are slaughtered, their lives are ended by the police. So this movie is very relatable. It shows from the point of this family, these 3 brothers, from different perspectives, what's going on. Of course, police are surrounding this area. The many youthful kids in this area are protesting and fighting against the police in this complex that is pretty much just turned into a war zone, while multiple other protests are also going on around the area as well because of this exact same situation. But this movie, not only does it follow the 3 brothers, we're all older brothers. The kid that was killed was like 10 years old. It was a young kid that was killed, assumably by the police. And all of the other brothers are range in age. I would imagine, it seems, if I had to guess, anywhere from their early 20s to somewhere in their 30s, these 3 brothers. And so this story follows the events through those 3 characters. The camera follows at different points, as well as one of the police officers, one of the feds, as they call them. So I don't know if it's state police, or I don't know how France, they kept referring to them as feds as well. But it gives you different sides of the issue of what's going on. And like I said, lots of long takes. The opening shot of this movie is 11 minutes long. It follows you from one of the brothers who is in the military. He's walking into an area where he's going to be part of a press junket to talk about his brother being killed, assumably by the cops. They want the names of the police officers involved. And it's him walking into this area. Then chaos breaks out in the press area, which I think it was held at the police station, and then it goes into the police station being attacked by these kids that are protesting, and it's following the younger brother now, and then they get into a van and they take the van to the Athena housing complex, and it's all one long shot, going in and out of buildings, in and out of cars, in and out of the van, in and out, like a lot of high-speed stuff, and everything is so smooth, so slick, This is a movie where multiple times I was catching myself not breathing, not blinking, just because I was so sucked into everything that was going on in this movie because of the long shots, because it's like non-stop action and you are right there with everybody, seeing everything that's going on. The way this camera captures all of the different things as it's just floating through all of the chaos that's going on. People running at high speed, like just the steadiest of shots as they're clearly running their ass off. Like amazing cinematography, amazing camera work. The story is brutal. The story is very relatable. The end of this movie, which I'm not going to say right now, I'll talk about later when I get to spoilers, but the end of this movie kind of felt like I don't know. It's an interesting end. But in the end, you see the truth about what happens. Because one of the big questions is, did the police actually kill this kid? Because their whole thing is, we want the names of these kids. Because, as we see in the United States, cops lie about stuff all the time. They get away with lying about stuff. The media tends to just take whatever story the police give them as truth, and there's very little investigation that goes on, and any investigations that do happen generally are headed up by the police themselves. So, of course, they never find any fault in the things that they do, unless it's something like George Floyd, where a cop is caught on camera and there are global protests. It's one of the few times cops will ever get charged with a crime, which it took forever for him to get charged, and actually be found guilty of the crime of murder. Because most of the times cops will just lie about. It's so easy for them to get away with murder. They do it all the time. Almost every day there's another body cam video footage of a cop. Recently in my area, I'm in the Palm Springs area near San Bernardino, where there was a cop shooting. There was a girl who went missing, kidnapped victim, presumed to be kidnapped by her father, who also killed the mother, and the cops shot the kid. The kid ran out of the truck that she was in with her dad as there was a shootout going on, and she was running to safety, running to the cops, and as she was running unarmed to the cops, she was gunned down by the police. And in this movie, there's a similar situation. There's a similar situation where somebody is running to the police, escaping the bad scenario that they're in, trying to escape to the protective aspects of the police, trying to save themselves, and the police fire on them. So this movie touches on a lot of things that actually happen with police departments, especially in the United States. I obviously don't have experience and not, privy to the news and things going on in other places of the world, but it seems like France has very similar issues. And this community, not only seems to be like more lower income, which is a very common thing where lower income people tend to be picked on, but also it seems to be a very large Muslim community, which, in America, after 9/11, Muslims had the crosshairs on them as far as racial discrimination and attacks. During the pandemic, a lot of Asian people were being attacked and targeted still to this day. And in general, like kind of historically in America, the black communities tend to be, racially discriminated and attacked more than anything. So, because obviously France, a little bit different history than us, they're seemingly, like, not a lot of this stuff is like on the nose, really plainly told, but it seems like maybe Muslim communities are kind of the target of racial discrimination in France. And that's what it seems like, because there's, even during this movie, we see the funeral of the young kid. Like, people in this complex trying to mourn the endless slaughter of a young child. And it gets interrupted by the war that's breaking out between mostly kids, younger people, and the police. who, of course, the police are heavily armed, using gas, using pepper spray, using sandbag, rubber bullets, using militarized in very much the same way, using very similar tactics that they use in the United States against kids that are, for the most part, unarmed. Like the kids in this movie, they're using like fireworks to shoot at them. They're using a lot of things to do what they can to fight because they're fed up. They're tired of the police getting away with murdering people. They're tired of the police getting away with dehumanizing, maiming, injuring, murdering innocent people. And probably tired of them getting away with it. And so it's got a lot of that frustration. It's got a lot of that rage. And, it's a movie where, you see through the different brothers, you see from different perspectives. Like you have the younger brother whose name is, what is his name? Kareem, I want to say. He's got like longer hair. He's the kind of the 20-year-old, maybe late teens, early 20s brother who's kind of the ringleader, the kind of leader of this rebellion against the police. You see his perspective where he's just tired of it. There's a moment where he's in his home washing off his hand because it got burned by one of the gas canisters, and he's looking at the picture of his brother, and that's where we first see how old this child was that was murdered by the police. And you see him start to cry. You get that emotion because you don't know up until that point how old this brother was. You have no idea. And then, of course, you see it's a child, which, children get murdered by the police in America all the time. Like, if you have a kid with a toy gun, you should warn your child that the police will probably shoot you if they see you holding a toy gun. I mean, holding anything in your hands around police in America is invitation for them to end your life. Because all they have to say is, I thought it was a gun. I felt my life was in danger, so I had to needlessly slaughter this child. And it's just disgusting. And then you see the kind of the middle brother, I guess, the next older brother, Abdel, who is military. He's kind of working with the cops, but obviously his brother is the head of this fighting against the police. So you kind of see his journey. He's kind of the main character in some ways because you see there's a major transition that happens in this movie that's like heartbreaking, but also, it's just adds to the drama, adds to everything in this movie. And then there is the older brother who's kind of like a stepbrother, it seems, who is a drug dealer. And he's trying to move his business out of the apartment complex because it's being, invaded, surrounded by police, and he doesn't want his drug business to get found out. So he's kind of got his own selfish reasons for trying to get out. And also the police officer. So you're seeing it from like kind of four different perspectives. And it's just nonstop. It's action-packed. It's so good. And I would recommend the default setting on Netflix is that it's dubbed in English. I hate dubbing. I'm not a good reader. I'm a slow reader. Subtitles are my Achilles heel, but I would much rather take my time having to pause the movie every other line to keep up with subtitles, if only to get the real raw performances from these people. So I switched it from dubbed to French, which is the language it was performed in, and then just turned on English subtitles, which I would recommend that way. Because, first off, not a lot of dialogue in this movie, but at least you're getting the authentic performances of these actors as they're performing in this movie, which is like, you just don't get that with dubbing. It's just, you don't get that same energy. So I would recommend watching this in French, putting on the English subtitles. But yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to go into spoilers too much. Maybe I will. I would recommend this movie. It's an amazing movie. It's like action-packed. The social issues, the end, Not a big fan.
I want to take a quick break from the show to let you all know that there is official merch for the Ray Taylor Show. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com. You can get t-shirts, different artwork available, different designs, all on high-quality materials in all the sizes. There's also iPhone cases made of biodegradable material. That's right. This is not bad for the environment. This is good for the environment. So all of those designs that are available on t-shirts are also available on phone cases. Designed by me, sold by me. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com to support the Ray Taylor Show and promote it out in the world, so all of the people in your life can see that you are a fan of the Ray Taylor Show. Now, let's get back to that very show right now.
Let me talk about spoilers. So, spoilers from here on out. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I'm going to talk about certain moments of this movie that will spoil things. So if you don't want to be spoiled, come back later. Watch the movie. It's like an hour and a half long movie, I think, maybe 2 hours. 140, so not bad at all. Watch the movie, come back, and then listen to my opinion on certain aspects of it. Because, in the comments, you could tell me if you agree or disagree with certain things that I like or didn't like about what happens in this movie. Overall, I thought it was a great movie. I didn't think it was bad. There's one aspect, especially at the end, that felt like it was a cop-out, pardon the pun. But, so spoilers. So a few big moments in this movie. Obviously, the big turn with Abdel and his brother. Abdel is so they end up kidnapping the cop. And Abdel goes in. He's working with the cops. He got himself out. The cops let him go. He was detained. He was handcuffed. They uncuffed him because they want his help. They know his brother is kind of leading the charge on the other side. And you see now he's kind of playing both sides. And they're asking him to go in because they just kidnapped one of the feds. Were going to try and invade, and they got held off, and one of the cops got taken and is now being held hostage. They want the names of the cops or they'll kill this hostage. So Abdel goes in to try and stop the situation before it gets worse. Tries to go in and get the cop out. And one thing that happens, well, first off, he knows where he's being held, right? Doesn't tell the cops, just sneaks in on his own to go where he's being held because they shot the video. He knows where that is because he lives there. He knows the complex. And on his way out, when they are running to freedom, I predicted this was going to happen because it happens all the time. It literally just happened in real life where somebody is running to the cops for protection, quote unquote, and the cops take that as a threat of their lives, their precious little fragile snowflake lives as being threatened, that they fire upon this cop that's trying to run to safety, which I thought was hilarious. I'm glad this movie had that aspect of it because it was predictable, because that's what would happen. So they can't run to safety, so they're kind of in a bind, right? They can't escape these kids that want to kill him because the cops will shoot him, and they can't stay there because obviously the kids will want to kill him. So they go to where the older brother is, the drug dealer brother, is trying to dig his way out. I don't really know exactly. One of them's digging. I don't know if it's just to bury evidence or he's trying to dig his way out, but they're digging a giant hole, but they're trying to get out. They don't want, obviously, the cops to be involved. They're like a third party that doesn't want to be involved with everything that's going on as well. And they hide in this little garage area that they're all in. But the scene where Kareem, I'm pretty sure it's Kareem, the younger brother with the long hair, and he knows where they are. He goes to them, and he's like, got his Molotov cocktail, and he's like, I will I don't care. You're my brother. I don't care. You're on the other side. You're helping the cops out, right? They killed our brother. They killed the child that was alive a day ago, who was related to us, who was a child. They killed him. And now they're trying to cover it up. And I don't know if at this point, over the news, like we get some exposition through news broadcasts that are going on. At one point, the news starts saying that it's presumed that it wasn't the police on the video, that it was actually far-right extremists that were the cause of this murder, which is something the police would do to not take blame. Instead of wanting to out one of their officers, they would rather just blame it on some other group, right? They don't want to take responsibility for the fact that they killed a child, which I didn't believe. But they're trying to run that narrative. The news is trying to push that narrative. And Kareem is there trying to get their hostage out, and is threatening to burn them out. And when the cops show up, it's just like so brutal. Like, like he lights the Molotov cocktail, and the cops approaching from behind him, telling him to drop it. And you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. And it's not going to be good. Because I like this character, right? There's a lot, maybe, I don't know, at that age, I would be one of the kids in a tracksuit saying, fuck the police. Now that I'm older, it's like, okay, I don't know. I don't know how I would act if I was in the middle of that. But obviously, I agree with him, The little brother got killed by, the video shows police officers shooting him. And it wouldn't be the first. This is like a common thing police officers do. So it's not like out of the scope of possibilities that the cops would have killed the child. And then also tried to cover up the fact that they killed the child. But you know what's going to happen in that moment. And when he goes to throw the Molotov cocktail at these cops, which obviously that's what he's going to do, and then he gets shot, and then it blows up, and then he's on fire, and then the brother runs out. It's like so dramatic. Such like a heart-wrenching moment, right? The brother gets him, they put him out with the fire extinguisher, brings him into that area, the garage area, and he's dead. And it's like it's like such a brutal moment, because now two of his brothers are dead, right? One needlessly assuming by the cops, which this older brother is helping out, right? So he knows, on some level, he knows his younger brother, other younger brother, Kareem, was justified in a lot of ways for doing what he's doing and trying to rally the troops and all that. And now the cops not only potentially killed his young brother, killed his another young brother, but also tried to shoot at him and the cop as they were trying to go. So now the cops have attacked them 3 times, ended 2 of the lives of his brothers. And there's this turn that the older brother has, that Abdel has. And it's like, holy shit, right? So you don't expect it. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect his turn. But it makes sense, where he's like, okay, fuck this. Like, half of my brothers, or more than half, 2 out of 3 of my brothers are now dead. One, I know for sure, I watched the police shoot him. Now, actual self-defense in that one, I guess. He was going to throw a Molotov cocktail on them. But the child, his young brother that died, not self-defense in any way, just needless slaughtering of a child. And that turn that he has is like amazing. It's like, holy shit. Like, that's where the movie gets even deeper. It digs its claws into you even deeper. And then you see him you see that Sebastian, this guy who's like seemingly, mentally challenged, whatever, and they're trying to protect him because of that. He ends up becoming he's like actually this master of disaster kind of guy, which was kind of amazing. Where he's like just effortlessly knows how to get into the safe, effortlessly knows what he's going to do, blowing up all these things. But then the very end of this movie, when you see what actually happens, when you see that it was actually the far-right group dressing up in police combat attire, filming themselves killing the kid, and then you see them run into the van and they go and burn the uniforms in the forest. It's like, I mean, it kind of lets the cops off the hook because they didn't kill the kid. But also, the only reason that was believed to have happened is because the police do actually regularly kill people for no reason. For very, like, fabricated reasons by the police. So after watching this whole movie where, like, the whole time it's like, of course the cops are lying. They don't want to give up their people. They don't want to accept responsibility for ending this life. Because in most instances, that's true. To make it kind of this conspiracy that far-right activists would frame the police is kind of a bummer. Because it kind of, in some ways, emboldens people who are conspiracy theorists to kind of justifies their belief in, like, oh, it's all fake. Like, whatever narrative they can creatively come up with to not have their side take responsibility is it's kind of a bummer that it was realized in this movie. But let's take a little break from the show to promote. I have Inspired Disorder Plus. Would you feel good about donating $5 a month to an artist that you want to support? $5 a month is not much, less than a price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. A lot of people would probably say, yeah, Inspired Disorder Plus, people can go, and for $5 a month or $50 for the year, you get access to all of the old podcasts that I've ever done, like 10 different podcasts, hundreds of podcast episodes. You also get access to, like, special deals. So if you do want to collect my artwork, you get discounts on stuff. Watch this show, binge the full week ad-free for $5 a month. Like, you get benefits for the $5 a month or $50 a year. So it's not like you're just donating $5. There's something, you get something for that. Would you feel good about donating $5 a month to an artist that you want to support? A lot of people would probably say, yeah. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. And now let's get back to the show. Overall, I still thought it was good. And even the fact that it was far-right groups, I mean, that's another thing in the U.S. Not only is it the police killing innocent people, but far-right groups in the United States are responsible for the majority of domestic terrorism. You know, these school shootings, mass shootings, church shootings, massage parlor shootings, abortion clinic bombings, like these, like, white supremacists, white nationalists, Christian nationalists, far-right groups are responsible. During the George Floyd protest, the majority of destruction was caused by far-right extremists trying to frame Black Lives Matter in a lot of the destruction, a lot of the looting, a lot of the property damage. So it's, you know. And then they also, it's kind of funny in the U.S., those same far-right groups, like, there's a lot of spray paint vandalism that I've seen online, like churches being tagged up by what they say are Antifa or Black Lives Matter. But it's like, clearly they're fake because they don't know. Like, they're so consumed with propaganda that they don't even know what somebody on the side of Antifa or Black Lives Matter would actually spray paint if they were going to vandalize something. Like, there was a church recently that was vandalized, and it had BLM, it had Antifa, and they always confuse the anarchy symbol to mean Antifa, so they used the A. I mean, they actually did the A correctly for once, but they used that A for Antifa, which they're not related. That symbol doesn't represent Antifa. That's an anarchy symbol. They had 666, which, for me, if I was going to vandalize a church, the only things I would put on this church would be definitely the 666, which was the only thing of all of the things paint. Oh, and then woke up, WOK-UP, which nobody, the right is the one that uses the term woke. They refer to us as woke, all this stuff. So we don't refer to ourselves as woke. If I was going to vandalize a church, 666, pentagrams, I would put all the things that they're afraid of, which is like devil stuff. So 666, pentagrams, you know, I might refer to the fact that priests and preachers and leaders of churches generally are the most notable for committing rape against children. You know, I'd put something on there like stop raping children, you know, those devil stuff, and then children, because it's like, oh, I'm scared. I don't believe in the devil because I don't believe in God, but I know they are scared of it. So I would put all the things that they are scared of if I was going to vandalize a church. I wouldn't put woke up. I wouldn't put pigs on a church, because pigs is like an old timey thing for cops not having to do. It's just sad how bad they are at vandalizing their own property, trying to act like they're martyrs, trying to act like they are victims by spray painting their own buildings. And it's just, they're all bad. They are all bad. They are all so blatantly fake. So, you know, anyway. But anyway, back to this movie. I really enjoyed it. You know, that passing of the torch, pardon the other pun, moment of when the one brother dies and the other one like changes sides, going from trying to help the police to just taking over his brother's duties as leading these people. The end is kind of beautiful in some ways, where it's like he's kind of just given up. Like, the cops never give him the name. He doesn't end up killing the guy. Probably made him hearing impaired. But he's just kind of given up, laying down in what I believe to be his brother's bedroom, as like ash comes flying in. It looks like snow, but I'm pretty sure it's ash, because there are protests everywhere, fires going on everywhere. So it's, I would assume, ash pouring in, kind of beautiful, like it almost looks like snow, and everything blowing up. You see Sebastian walking through the hallway because he's rigged everything up, because he ended up being the scariest person in the like, to let him off the leash is the scariest aspect of what happened. But, you know, I really did enjoy this movie. It was, I mean, it's brutal, but also based in a lot of real things that are happening, a real struggle that's happening between marginalized groups, marginalized communities, and the police. The constant police brutality that's happening, the constant lives that are lost by the police, who never get charged, never are held responsible for the damage they cause to human life. They are very protected. And unless something garners a lot of press, a lot of news, which rarely happens, because the news generally puts out whatever the police say, it's just a shitty situation. And they're funded more than anything. You know? They are one of the most funded organizations aside from the military in the United States. I don't know about France, but... And a lot of their funding goes to cover lawsuits that they are constantly having to settle, because they cause so much damage to lives, to families, and it's disgusting. It's inhuman. It's absolutely inhuman. How much money, and all they do, their job is to fill private prisons. Their job is to turn human beings into modern day slaves for the smallest thing that they can somehow fabricate. They don't stop crimes. They don't prevent crime. In a lot of cases, they cause crime. And, you know, if you're wondering if I am anti-cop, I am very much anti-cop. They do not improve life at all. They are terrorists, in my opinion. And this is a movie about these kids fighting against terrorists, fighting against government-funded terrorists. And they may have been wrong about the situation that sparked the war, but, the tension was there. The police were responsible for that tension existing. So just because the police weren't responsible for the singular act that kind of broke that tension and sparked the rebellion, it's, they still have the responsibility. They're still held responsible for that tension being there in the first place. Anyway, I thought it was an amazing movie. Gorgeous, well shot. I love long shots, and the way this one was done, so beautiful. Like, I don't even know. I while watching this, I'm like, how did they even do this? How did they make this look so clean? Because there's like crazy. The camera's like flying around effortlessly, and it's so amazing. So anyway, check it out. It's on Netflix. Athena. I recommend watching it in French, putting on the English subtitles. Don't watch it dubbed. Obviously, if you have to watch it dubbed, but it's going to take away. It's not going to be as good of a movie if you watch it dubbed. Watch it in French. Read the subtitles. Not a whole lot of dialogue. A lot of action. A lot of things going on. You won't be distracted by reading. Trust me. But check it out. It's amazing. I loved it. Athena.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.